Hey, good morning. It is the vlog ride and we're going into work. I didn't hit the gym this morning because I was up late last night. I went and saw Godzilla King of the Monsters and it was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. I'd recommend going and seeing it. It's a lot of fun. If you missed seeing enough Godzilla in the last movie, I think you'll be happy with this one because there is a lot of Godzilla. That said, the human plot is not abandoned or lost. It's all actually pretty good. I'm going to do my best not to spoil. The thing with this movie is there's not a whole lot to spoil, but there is a setup, setup, reminder, and turn that I actually think are done pretty well. That is probably the only really spoilerific part of the movie. There's a reveal that's maybe spoilerific because I don't know how it lines up with the origins from the old Godzilla movies of King Ghidorah. So I won't spoil that just in case it's a spoiler. But it is a good movie. It is a fun movie. Even when you know that the jump scare is coming, it still makes you jump because, you know, the movie make a loud noise. But it's fun. It is a lot of fun. I didn't cry because a Godzilla movie is not really something that's going to make you cry. Not to me anyway. But there was a moment that I did actually get choked up a little bit. So there's that. Mothra was beautiful. I liked how they did her. I still don't know how I feel about the new Godzilla monster design. Like, some parts of him are really cool, and then some parts of him are just kind of meh. But that's not a complaint on this movie because I felt the same way about the 2014 movie too. I guess it's a better design than the Matthew Broderick Godzilla movie, though I enjoyed that movie too. I had fun with that. It was just a fun ride. But the Godzilla movies are fun. They're monster movies. Things get destroyed. We'll come back to that in a second. So it is fun. I recommend going and seeing it. I do want to talk about a few things. I am one of those people who likes to immerse themselves in movies. I will just sit down, set my disbelief aside, and go and have fun. I like that. I go to a movie to enjoy the movie. That said, the first time that King Ghidorah is actually loose on the screen, I'm just kind of like, that's CGI. And, like, I don't have the most technical eye for that. I will watch people who talk about the CGI effects of a movie, and sometimes I can see what they mean. But I see what they mean because they're talking about it. It's not something that bugged me watching the movie. I'm not usually one of those people who will pick out stuff and go, yep. Even when I know it's CGI, I'm one of those people who doesn't pick out the problems with the CGI. So, you know, that first scene just really stuck out at me, like Ghidorah is roaring, I am CGI, instead of his monster roar. And I'm like, okay, the effects in this movie aren't going to age well. But that said, that's probably the only time that the CGI effects, like, really just kind of glared at me. For the rest of it, I enjoyed it. It was fun. There's a couple of scenes with the military fighting the monsters with fighter jets and stuff. and one of them, they're fighting Rodan, and it was actually really kind of fun to watch essentially a dog fight with a monster. It was actually kind of cool, because those planes were fucking outclassed, man. But it was fun. It was good. So, there you go. One of the things that I thought that the movie did really, really well, the movie does have a turn. I'm not going to say what the turn is, because I don't want to spoil it. It's one of the few things you can actually spoil in this movie, because everything else is just pretty cut and dry what you expect of a Godzilla movie. But there is a turn, and the movie kind of tricks you a little bit, because you have it's one of those things, without spoiling it, you'll have to watch the movie, and then you'll be able to pick out these moments and see what I mean. The actual setup happens very, very early in the movie, in the beginning scenes. There is it's a not so subtle setup, but nothing seems to come of it. So it becomes a subtle setup. And so you have that at in the beginning scene, in the early scenes of the movie. Then you have what seems like a turn. And you're like, oh, okay. But then you realize when the actual turn comes, that wasn't the turn. That was a reminder. And like usually when you get like a setup, reminder, payoff situation, you get something like we see the gun set down in the drawer at the beginning of the movie. Later on in the movie, the gun gets seen again. Maybe the characters argue about why would you leave a gun out where, your kid can get it. And then the payoff comes where, the house is broken into and one of the characters gets the gun, shoots the intruder, and saves everybody. That is usually how set-offs and reminders and payoff is done. You've got the setup. You've got obvious setup, you've got obvious reminder, you've got obvious payoff when it's done correctly. Or if you don't need to have a reminder, you've got obvious setup, obvious payoff. This one kind of builds into steps up to the payoff. So you've got this thing that's dropped that nothing seems to really be done with. Then you get the reminder, and you think that's the turn. You're like, oh, okay. And then you get the actual turn, and you realize, nope, that was our reminder for the thing that was set up. And there are little bits, peppered in to kind of establish the turn. Why the turn's taking place, what's affecting this person. So it's done well. I think it was done really well. So that's cool. I also want to say that I don't know if it was the screenwriter or if it's the director. So I'm not sure if they're the same person, because I honestly didn't pay attention. Probably not the same person. One of those two people, maybe both of them, hates Boston. Like, so San Francisco is a big deal city, right? Los Angeles is a big deal city. New York is a big deal city. Washington, D.C. obviously is a big deal city. When I think about cities for monster movies to trash on screen, Boston never really comes to mind for that. It's just not the place I would think to go and set a monster movie. It's just not. So the end, city trouncing that you are always going to have for a Godzilla movie is Boston. And I'm like, Fallout destroyed Boston, but, as my husband pointed out, Fallout kind of destroyed everything. Boston wasn't special, but Boston was special here, man. These people hate Boston, apparently, because they just destroyed that city. My opinion was, yeah, they're probably from Boston, and my husband laughed at that. So, but yeah, it's, Boston gets trashed pretty bad, man. But it was great. It was fun. It was good. There's some, neat little reveals. There's a nifty reveal about Ghidorah, and they play off of this reveal visually so well, where you get this mountaintop scene with Ghidorah's wings spread, and it's after Rodan has been released. So the mountain has all the lava streaming down and stuff, and he's got his wings spread, and then in the foreground is a cross, because it's this mountain that overlooks this South American village, I think is where they were. Central American, one of those, but you know what I mean, as far as, how you're going to have those crosses set up on the church steeples, or sometimes on hills. So you've got the cross in the foreground, and then you've got this just demonic image of King Ghidorah dominating the screen. And like, that kind of religious iconography throwback is 100% why I love movies like this. Godzilla is Japanese property, right? And there is a lot put into the movie as homage to that. One of the things with anime is that anime loves to take Western stuff and call back to and like use it for their own ends. And you get some just brilliant stuff that comes from it. So, like, when we talk about cultural appropriation is not actually a bad thing. In and of itself, cultural appropriation is neutral. It's that it can be done with harm, but it can also be done good. The Japanese appropriating Western stuff, Western mythology, is like the best example that I can toss up for that. And that is called back to here. And I loved that scene. It is such a great looking scene. And it ties into the reveal about King Ghidorah. There's some other reveals that are theorized and then revealed about Godzilla and the other monsters. So it's really good. It's a lot of fun. So yeah. I'd recommend going and seeing it. Have fun. Suspend your disbelief. Enjoy a monster movie. And ask yourself the question I kept asking myself the whole time. What is this world like where you have to live with the fact that these monsters are around? And what's it going to be like? Because these monsters aren't going away. So, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this. I will finish out my second part of my Fallout and get that up at some point. Anyway, in the meantime, thanks again. If you like this, please like, share, subscribe. Peace.